Hola Madridistas, welcome back to another episode of Let's Be Real podcast. Um, some housekeeping out of the way. If you're new here, smash the like button. If you're new here, do subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 2K. But yeah, very comprehensive victory, very complete performance in many ways. With Cadiz, it was supposed to be a routine performance, but stuff that we learned over the international break kind of threw things into the mix that we weren't actually expecting to happen. The Vinny injury, Kamavinga injury, on paper it might look like season defining injuries, to be honest, but when we actually deep it a bit more, the guys Jacob and Farouk has done it to death. But I would just add my 2 cents to what I felt over the international break. I was in agony, initially, but then when these guys tried to put some sense into me, which they always do, I was a bit more calm about what we were going to face over the next 2 months. And it was, to be honest, doable. It wasn't very straightforward, but there were fixtures that we could look at and think, yeah, we should be able to beat these sides, and Cadiz was one of those. And throw in the Brahim injury, I mean, not injury, his slight stomach issue into the mix. I was thinking, man, this is exactly what we needed. And then the Modric knock, right at the end of the game as well. Yeah, it's a bit bittersweet, but still, man, I would take so much optimism from this performance, especially one man that I love so much, Rodrigo, back among the spotlight, really imposing himself in the game, really taking that initiative to tilt the tie in our favor. But yeah, Cadiz wasn't a really formidable opponent, but they threw some spanner in our works, to be honest, especially in the first half, where I thought, yeah, like we would have to weather a 10-15 minute spell, which we did comfortably, thankfully. um we'll we'll deal with how things unfolded up in a bit, but welcome my esteemed panel, Farouk and Jacob. I'll come to you, Jacob, first. Quick thoughts, initial impressions, job done.
Yeah, man, it was an easy game. I was still nervous at the end of the first half. If we still looked like we had a mistake in us. We weren't looking too sharp in defense, but then, yeah, we got the job done in the end. And I feel like towards the end, Ancelotti could have had the subs a bit sooner. That was my only gripe from this game. Apart from that, it went smoothly and perfect.
100%. Farouk, man.
Yeah, I share a lot of sentiments that Jacob just mentioned. It was a comfortable game in the end. As you mentioned, the first 15 minutes was a bit hectic before Rodrigo just did what he did. So it was a really good evening, and I think as you mentioned, more importantly, it was an evening to to just reinforce, or rather build on Rodrigo's already building confidence for the past 3 games. So I think it was really really important for that as well.
100%. Jude, playing through injury, was a bit concerning. But yeah, what a performance from him as well. Like we'll delve into it a bit more. But let's start how the game kind of kicked off. From your point, Farouk, it was a bit frantic. It was very open, which even the commentators, I think, were alluding to, which I didn't expect. Quite frankly, from Cadiz. But especially the aerial balls, like we always have discussed, to death, on this very pod, that we just, no matter what personnel we deploy in defense, we just don't really look comfortable dealing with balls from deep. But yeah, we weathered that storm, and let's talk about the Rodrigo finish, man. The way he just managed to dribble past three people and then nutmeg did. Like, some people would argue, yes, the nutmeg was a bit fortunate. It kind of fell kindly to him, and he had the time and space. But I would just credit it to the man himself for improvising. And some guys, let's be honest, the most some of the lesser composed people would just freeze at that very moment where he got that bounce off the defender, where the ball is there to maybe strike or take another touch or two, take it past a couple of defenders, and then bury it. They would just freeze. Like, I would think of so many people that would just you know really ponder as to what to do. But Rodrigo had conviction. Rodrigo had uh, the application to actually go through with the shot. And what a finish, man. Like, honestly, that just made me so happy. Like, I was over the moon. This was definitely a game that showed us flashes of what Rodrigo can be. And, well, I would go back to even a couple of years ago, where there was peak sub Rodrigo, the super sub Rodrigo, where he would come on, have these kind of chances, without thinking too much. He would just, yeah, put the game to bed, and this was one of them. Farouk, man, this again goes to highlight what Rodrigo's all about: the technique, the flair, but again, conviction, composure, technique.
Yeah, exactly. That's just the thing. Like we all, let's use the last word you use here. It's like we all relate Rodrigo to being a very composed player. But one thing that for myself is that I never relate to him to be an exciting player. And today he showed us that not just the composition as well, but the ability to get the fans out of their seats and make the right decision at the end of all the tricks and all that. As you mentioned, some people will argue that after the nutmeg, the ball fell kindly to him. But the point is, in the first place, he forced his luck by attempting the nutmeg. Eventually, so
100%.
so that's the thing. Like, he basically created, or rather, he forced his luck in the situation there, and that further goes to so. Because if you can even remember in the sequence of play, Jude was about to get on the ball, but like Rodrigo was just like, nah, this is mine. Basically, just brush him off. That's just goes to show like how confident right now he's feeling, in himself, and that ability, to skim up past all those players and just find one, because even the commentator was saying, I don't know if you guys watched the same one we wanted on the telecast. He was saying basically like there was only one spot he could have picked out to score the goal, and he literally picked that spot out. So that's that goes to show like how much back Rodrigo is, because I always use the term like he had forgotten how to play football, but for the past 4 games it seems like he is all of a sudden flicked the switch and something has turned. And honestly, I think we also have to give credit to the person most likely that I don't like too much, Carlo, because even I have sat here and said like Rodrigo needs to be removed from the firing line. But if there's anything, it's shown us that continuously playing Rodrigo actually played him back into form. So credit to Carlo, because it would have been an easy decision to just remove Rodrigo and play Joselo and Vinicius, during that timeline. So honestly, credit to both Rodrigo and to Carlo Ancelotti as well.
That's a very great point, because you and me, even me, like I'm his biggest fan over here, and I was thinking this was bound to add insult to injury, add salt to the wound, because Rodrigo just looked in dire straits, man, like, devoid of confidence, devoid of any sort of spark. But like you mentioned, like his rhythm has improved, his decision making has improved. I think he's slowly getting back to his very best, which bodes very well for us. Jacob, the first goal was very impressive.
Yeah, dude, I love the confidence on Rodrigo there. Like Farooq said, he picked up the top spot. There were defenders all around him. There was really only one way he could finish that move, and he did that. And I just wish, he had taken a bit more initiative on the next one. You remember the miss with him and Joselu. I'm sure we're gonna
Yeah,
talk a lot about that, but yeah, I wish we'd seen some of that confidence in that move as well. But overall, perfect day for Rodrigo. So if I remember correctly, it's like 9 goal contributions for him in the last 3 matches. So yeah, averaging,
that's mad.
yeah, in the top of his
Against
game.
Valencia as well. He
Yeah.
was pretty impeccable. Um, yeah, I'm just hoping this continues, because we need him. We need all the help we can get. Especially with Vinicius out. Rodrigo has to step up. He has to take initiative, and like I mentioned in the chat, like I was initially seething, because it was always evident, especially I saw the game against Argentina, and I said it in the chat as well. When I saw those guys converge on Rodrigo, I was like, yeah, this is over. Another injury on the table, another calamitous post international break blues is gonna pile on us, and I was fearing the worst. And I still kind of notice, he isn't really, up to 100% fitness. Like he would be somewhere around the 70, 75 mark. He really doesn't have that burst of pace when he is in, full swing. So I was dreading the worst. I was thinking, Carlo, it's a bit much. Like you could have thrown in anybody else and just saved Rodrigo, because it's, all due respect to Cadiz. Uh, it's a fixture that we should be winning with or without Rodrigo. So I was thinking, why do it? But this performance would help Rodrigo's confidence leaps and bounds, and would put a marker down for the rest of the season. That's what I hope, at least. Yeah, that's the first goal happened. That basically set the tone for the game. After that, Cadiz basically, they might have had a few half chances here and there, a few nice crosses, but they really couldn't muster much. And thankfully, it wasn't the case of us missing chances and praying for luck to come our way and turn things in our favor. We just set the tone early on. And before we get to the second goal, I would like to big up some of the performances, especially in midfield, where we played kind of a box, like we expected, Fede and Cruz to play the pivot. Fede helping hand for Cruz, basically shadowing him wherever he went, and always looked out for any sorts of threat down Cruz's alley. But the most I've been impressed with tonight was Luka Modric. The guy we thought is left out on the cold, is completely past his very, very best, has to look forward to the less important matches. Obviously, Cadiz isn't the greatest fixture on a calendar, but just the way I can't put my finger on it. It's just the way he exudes confidence. He exudes some sort of a spring in his step, which I didn't notice in Modric over the past couple of months or so, especially since the turn of the season. I couldn't really see Modric having that aura, if you can, the most overused fucking term in football nowadays. But Luka Modric really had something about him tonight, Farouk. What can you put it down to? Is it rhythm? Like we have always discussed, that this man thrives on being played, week in, week out. Is that the only reason, or is it just finally, things clicking out for him?
I think the thing is, Modric, as you said, I think rightly, it's rhythm, because I think a lot of players rely on that, eventually. And he's played, back to back for Croatia, and he's back, continuing where he's basically, left off. So I think that's the thing. I think with Luka Modric, I think that the thing is that the man is going to be 39 soon. So it's kind of, you don't expect him to be the person who you turn to, for the week in, week out. So I feel like these are the kind of fixtures where, you would expect to see something from Luka Modric, and for him to come in and perform. And as you mentioned, honestly, he came in and he okay, it's sort of Modric masterclass, but I mean, it was a very, 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 very solid performance, honestly. So I think, it's not just about the rhythm as well, it's just about the fact that, here and there, like Luka Modric can still, he gets things done. And I was glad, after he came off and, he got the ovation as well, even from the, from the Cadiz fans as well. It's joy to witness.
100%, 100%. Yeah, another one to the checklist, for standing ovations. This man, I hope, and really, if he's, ought to leave end of the season, I just hope he has, another string of very good performances, and slowly gets into that position where he's actually undroppable. I think this was more of a result of so many of our midfield weapons out injured, struggling to get into peak fitness. But I really think Modric, hopefully past January, past February, he has enough gas in his tank to make a difference. But Farouk, the injury, the knock, it wasn't an injury, but a knock that he was slightly concerned with. The expression on his face didn't look great. But did you hear anything about it on Twitter or anything? Like, should we be worried early on?
You're asking me about Twitter, man. Do you are you
No, I was asking Jacob. Farouk.
Oh,
I was
okay.
asking Jacob.
okay.
Okay.
I know what I'm dealing with, Farouk. Trust me.
Okay. So Ancelotti came out and said it's just an overload to his muscles, so something to do with his hamstring. It wasn't a
Hmm.
knee injury or any knock. It was just he just couldn't run at some point, right? And he couldn't extend his knee fully, which was why
Hmm.
people were concerned, and he was taken out. But looks like it's just an overload. He should be back for the next game. But uh, like if something comes out a bit later, if they run some tests, I wouldn't be too surprised either. But it doesn't look too serious, anyways.
Too serious. Yeah. That's the only thing I'm praying, man. That it's not something significant. But um, I just jotted it down the moment it happened. That lung busting run to actually get to a loose ball. I think was it falling on the feet of Roger Marti? I'm not sure, but a header. He's what 5'6", 5'7". He's running to a loose ball, trying to head it out. So Modric showed immense work rate for someone who's going to be 38 super soon. Um, yeah, man, big up Modric. I have all the time in the world to praise this man. And when he has a bad day, when he has a game off, I'm always seething. But yeah, big up every single one of you in the chat. Let me bring up a few of the chats. Marcus Winningham, big up Marcus. He was saying, I always said it. Signing Kepa was a bad idea. Loden deserves to play till Thibaut is back next year. Should we touch upon Lonin now itself? I guess it's an okay moment to really bring up Lonin. Um, well, we were talking about it, Farouk, earlier. You had your opinion on why Lonin doesn't really get much trust, which I respect. Because you have mentioned it, over the past few pods, pretty. You basically hit your point home. But I honestly think that Lunin, for all his earlier faults, his positioning, some of his anticipation, especially in balls from deep, crosses, leaves a lot to be desired. Um, but I think, I'm not an expert, I'm not a goalkeeping coach, but from just my eye test, I can just make out that he is so much more confident, so much more composed, so much more calm about how to deal with situations. And he just look untouchable at this moment. I can't see a world in when Kepa walks straight back into the lineup. But that's just me. That's just my opinion. I would be very, very disappointed to see Lunin being dropped. He should be backed by the coaching staff, should be backed by the club, and should be given a vote of confidence, especially these 2 months where it's kind of fixtures where we can give Lunin a real chance. Um, if it was somewhere in February, if it was, if say we had a knockout fixture in 2 weeks' time from now, I would be with you, Farooq. I would be with you thinking, yeah, Kepa has more on his CV, has more high profile fixtures on his CV, has much more experience dealing with high profile games. But now, if Lunin survives these 2 months unscathed, I honestly believe that he should be given a hand of faith. Jacob, what's your opinion, man, on the whole goalkeeping position?
Yeah, man. Like for me, it's like the most important attribute of Lunin right now is compared to Kepa. He's just so much more calmer on the ball. He just doesn't put the team in difficult situations, which we see Kepa do every single game, no matter who the opposition is. And right now, we're all living in fantasy land if we wish that, Lunin has a string of games to continue. I feel like the max he can get is like a couple of Copa del Rey games, maybe the Copa uh, finals at Saudi Arabia, because Ancelotti also came out and said, Lonin, I'm quoting him, the important thing is that he has been ready to replace Kepa. Kepa will be back for Granada, and if he's okay, he will play. So there you go. That's a very damning statement. It's like no matter what Lunin does, Kepa is always going to start, and that's probably not going to do anyone any good. But that's just the way the ball rolls.
Where the fuck is meritocracy? That's what irks me the most. Like I love Carlo the man, I love his method, but in a situation like this, what the fuck do we owe to Kepa? Is my question, right? He's an outsider from the word go. I don't know the man. He's Spanish. He was once touted as one of the most promising upcoming keepers. He was shunned by fucking Zidane, right? Right, for a reason.
And
Okay.
I think Ancelotti is just seeing things in training that we're not seeing, and so he just has. So
I
with
would,
Ancelotti, it's more about like form never comes into play. It's always about trust, and he just kept a bit more.
man, goalkeeping position is the position where confidence should trump experience, trust, in my opinion. Because the most experience of goalkeepers has a slump that is much more harder that I've seen over, my little time, watching football. Goalkeepers, when they have a slump, it hits harder than when it's an outfield player. You take the examples of whoever you want, David De Gea, who used to be, the goalie, the goalkeeper, Iker Casillas, it can happen to anyone. So, man, Farooq, I would like your opinion on this. Keep aside, I know your sentiment of just what Jacob mentioned, that we don't see what the coaching staff sees day in, day out in training. But keep that aside, just from what you see on the pitch, right? Ever since Kepa got injured, what's your opinion of Lunin? What are his chances? Or if you were the manager, Farouk, right? If you were in Carlos' position, what would be your thought process?
Yeah, man. So that's the thing. Like, as you rightly mentioned, right now Lunin hasn't done anything wrong. Like, he's basically informed. But I think that also, just goes back to what you said initially about the fact that it's all about meritocracy and what is not. But the point is basically, it's like, okay, we have a substitute teacher, right? Like, okay, I'm a teacher, I get 6, and then you get a substitute teacher, and then the substitute teacher comes and he impresses the kids, but then I am back fit. You understand? I am the main teacher, so like until and unless I do something catastrophically wrong, that job is mine. So I think that's the same situation with Kepa. Like until and unless he does something, and again, I keep saying this: like, what has Kepa done wrong? Okay, people will go to that Atletico Madrid game or the first couple of games that we had. The crossing issue, but like the issue of dealing with crosses has been known with Kepa even since before he moved to Chelsea. This has been his biggest deficiencies. You understand? So it's not like this is something that came to daylight today. But in my opinion, I think that until and unless Kepa does something wrong, I mean catastrophically wrong, I think the position is his. If I were a coach, that's the way I would tread. When something happens, then we move to Lunin.
Farouk, if I may interrupt you, the crossing deficiency thing, I get your sentiment, which is 100% valid. Um, he has the worst, attributes to deal with crosses. He's not exactly the most tallest keeper out there, but um, what you could figure out from our setup and what we have seen our defense deal with over the past 2-3 years is the very fact that we just don't do good with crosses, right? And add Kepa into the mix, isn't it basically doubling down on our deficiencies? And secondly, what you said by what you earlier mentioned about him doing something catastrophic. How many instances did we have during Kepa's stint at between the posts where we thought, yeah, this is catastrophic, and some sort of luck basically bailed him out, Farouk. So many instances. So many instances.
Catastrophic, because the point is, Jacob actually made a point which actually will counter in the sense that, for example, today I remember there was a situation where Lunin literally just kicked the ball to a Cadiz player, and like.
So does Kepa at least once every single game.
That's the point. Like, I mean, this is what they want to do. They want to build up from the back. This is gonna happen. Like, if you watch, the City Liverpool game yesterday, Alisson literally shot the bed.
Foden should have buried the shot.
When you have a top class goalkeeper, like when they shit the bed really bad. I mean, we've seen with Manuel Neuer as well before he got back to form and then broke his foot as well. He was shitty for some while. Even yesterday we had Ramsdale and goal against Brentford as well. Like how Brentford didn't score 2 goals in the first half. It's a miracle. Like these are things that happen as you want to play out from the back. These are risks that are being taken, and these are consequences that you have to face. You understand? So what I mean by something catastrophic is that until and unless Kepa is unable to stop shots, which is basically the primary responsibility that he has. For example, the howlers he was having at Chelsea when he first moved here. If he goes into that kind of form, definitely you have to remove him from the team. But what I'm just saying is that from what we've seen for the first 2 months of the season before Kepa got injured, what he has done is not a phenomenal job, but it's an okay and acceptable job. So what I'm saying is that until he goes to an absolutely atrocious level, I think the job is his, in my opinion, at least.
Well, yeah, I should agree to disagree, but you made some very great points as to why you think that Kepa should walk straight back in. But I would be really disappointed. But that's just me. I just hope Loden gets some opportunity to really instill some sort of absolute faith. More than just being a backup, some unwavering faith in for him to start completely.
Because I mean, for example,
Yeah.
we've talked about this a lot, but let me just reinforce that point. We talked earlier before now that we all wanted Rodrigo to be out of the team. Why did he keep playing? It's not because there was no alternative. There was an alternative, but because the coaches trusted him blindly, as Jacob was saying. When it comes to these guys, obviously, what we have seen is that they trust. If they develop a trust towards you, they trust that you will come into, to pay back their trust rather than the other way around. So I think it's just the same thing. Like, honestly, like, credit where it's due. Kamavinga has shown that he's someone that can come into the first team. He kicks Modric out of the team. He kicks Cruz out of the team. You understand? If there is anything you want to give credit for, is that honestly with Carlo, is that if a first team player has shown that there is this, that, what's it called? Like, the skill is there, the ability is there, and he can win their trust. They have shown that, okay, yeah, we are a merit-based team. Otherwise, like, Luka Modric will be starting every 14 game that's available to play. Even Dani Ceballos had a stretch last year as well, or the year before that, I can't remember, where he was playing week in, week out. So that's one thing, like, they've shown that, okay, like, merit is given. So we always have to go back and ask that question that with Lunin, why is it different?
Mm-hmm.
That's just it.
But Rodrigo, what was that? But right,
my phone was ringing.
Right. No worries. The thing I wanted to add to your point was that Rodrigo, yes, you could mention that he had alternatives, but there was no clear-cut alternative like with the goalkeeping position. Did we? We didn't. With Rodrigo, you had to play Rodrigo, Ovini, or Joselu. It's just basically one in or one out, and it wasn't as clear-cut as the goalkeeping position. But yeah, I get your point. I get your point. When you deep it, you really have to kind of put some faith in what the keeping coaches are seeing behind the scenes. There must be something. But I just want to root for the underdog. Maybe I just feel for Lunin. Honestly, he has given his all. It has been a good 3-4 years that he has been in the shadows waiting for his turn. Has had his turns and didn't really pan out the way he wanted. Didn't pan out the way we wanted. So I just hope it falls into place for him. Big up Rahul. I think it's Rahul from back in the day, Opa Athleti Rahul, but big up yourself, Rahul. Jermaine is in the chat. He was saying, do you think it's something that was agreed upon when signing the loan contract with Kepa regarding appearances? Might be, I'm not sure. There might be something regarding that. You never know. It'll come to light when he has a string of very poor performances. And see, I don't want to wish the worst, upon my own team. But I just, from what I've seen, yes, I've been impressed with some of the saves he has made. He has bailed us out, and I've duly given him his flowers. Coming on for the post matches. I haven't shied away from the fact that I wasn't the greatest fan of his, but I've given him his due credit. But the iffy moments, the heart in your mouth moments that he has, put on show over the past 3 months leads me to believe that a slump in form is right around the corner. So then probably this might come to light if whether there was a clause regarding appearances in his contract. Very good point, Jermaine. Hawkage Madrid Mo was in the chat. He was saying, I think Lunin had some nervy moments today where his decision making was questionable. Overall, though, Lunin has been satisfactory in my opinion. Yeah, I would still say Kepa has had more nervy moments, but that's just me. I don't know if I'm being biased by my mental image of him making such horrible decisions, in his Chelsea stint. But yeah, the season is long. We still have what six odd months left to play. So we'll know in due time, what these guys are about, and it's a very good tussle. With Tiba out, we were looking into the abyss, thinking where are we going to go? What savior are we going to turn to? Now we potentially have two okay, satisfactory goalkeepers with their fair share of strengths and weaknesses. Let's just keep our fingers crossed, shall we? Again, back into the midfield, man. Modric, yes, we talked about him. It was kind of a box. Cruz and Fede, like we discussed, and Modric, Bellingham, slightly forward. Fede Valverde, Jacob. We don't talk about the man too much because all the work he does basically goes under the radar. His work rate, his willingness to track back, all of that. But yeah, man, Fede, let's give him his flowers for today. Like for most of this season, what he does has gone unnoticed. Like I don't want that to be the case tonight. The reason why Kroos and Modric can do what they do and doesn't have to live with the fear of what's happening behind them is because of Fede's immaculate positioning.
Absolutely, and it frees up to a certain extent Bellingham as well. That's just how much ground Fede covers because he gives all three midfielders a lot more leeway, and of course that harms him a bit because he can't carry the ball forward a lot like that anymore. And that will come true in the next couple of months. And we'll be like, come on, man, Fede's numbers went down. He just isn't good in attacking anymore. But then you have to remember, like this, and he looked right at place. And I feel like he plays this position for Uruguay as well, where he plays a bit more deeper, just protecting the whole midfield. So he's totally comfortable playing this position, and he solidified the position over at Uruguay as well. And so yeah, I'm totally confident with Fede heading forward for the next 2 months. I just hope Ancelotti can take him off a bit sooner in some of these dead rubber games.
Yeah, that's my gripe as well. He should be given some rest, man, because he is the one-man wall that is standing between us being effective, smooth sailing, and us completely falling apart in midfield. Because without Camavinga or Fede or Chouameni, Kroos and Modric, they look like part-timers, man. Let's be honest. It's not about the technique. It's not about the reading of the game. When it comes to the physical aspect, yeah, they can be brushed aside so easily that would blow your mind. When you watch it in real time, it's just mad. But yeah, big up Fede, man. Fede deserves his flowers for today. So Modric, Fede, Kroos. Farouk, usual performance, nothing spectacular, but neat and tidy.
That's, I knew you were going to go to Kroos, that's why I didn't want to interject when you and Jacob were flowing. But guys, actually, I know we discussed this with Jacob on the preview as well, that, like Fede is the guy you don't want to, you don't want to lose or shit like that. But then actually, I've come to think of it, and I think it's actually Toni Kroos and not Fede. I would be more worried if I actually lose Toni Kroos than Fede, because I just, go to remember like the first 3, 4, 5 games of the season where Kroos was coming on as a sub and something like that. And then all of a sudden, Kroos started starting games and we started to see something different from the midfield. I don't know if you guys remember that.
100%.
For the first 4 games of the season where that was different. And again, today, it just, reinforced that belief that I actually came up with before the game. And I kind of feel like, we've been playing Kroos. Okay, he doesn't play the international matches. Maybe that's why, it's something like that. But I kind of feel like, maybe the guy who is actually indispensable might be Toni Kroos, because I totally get what you guys are saying about Fede. And also I said that just yesterday, So I kind of feel like Kroos is putting in a phenomenal season that, we're just so used to seeing,
100%.
really good performances that we take for granted. At least I don't know, maybe I'm over exaggerating in my mind, but
no, you're not.
Kroos is really, really putting together, quietly without anyone noticing, a phenomenal season, and like we're just here taking that for granted, honestly. And I do think, like, he might be the one player that you cannot replace in this team, actually. At least in the middle of the park right now, given the injuries that we have. So I kind of feel like, again, hats off to Tony Cruz. I feel like he started the season as a man on a mission. Maybe it's, the last dance for him or whatever it is, but whatever he has done, hats off to him, honestly. Like, at this late stage, having won everything, to remain this motivated, playing with these young guys, to be able to shine through, in the midst of these young guys as well. I think it's not an easy task, and being there week in, week out, continuously, no knocks, no injuries, no muscle pulls, nothing else. I think it's really, really, great.
Touch wood, touch wood, touch wood. I don't want you fucking saying all that, man. But yeah. I completely share your sentiment. Jacob, your 2 cents on Tony Cruz.
Yeah, and exactly what Farooq said. I still feel like this whole midfield, all of these players are so important to each other. Like, you remove Bellingham, you remove a lot of our scoring prowess, you remove Tony Cruz, the whole midfield stops working, and you remove Fede Valverde, we just start conceding goals. All of these guys are super, super important, and I just can't see a world right now where this midfield as a whole can perform consistently without Tony Cruz. So for me personally, I don't think he should leave either. This should not be his last dance. He still has a lot to give. So yeah, hoping to see him in the next few seasons as well.
His stint in the six really made me hate him. I'm not gonna lie. Hate comes from a place of love, right? It's not hating on the man, just hating him being put in a position that he absolutely doesn't have anything in his arsenal to deal with. Even pre the Decimo Quarto season, like I was being slated day in day out for mentioning that Kroos and Modric didn't really have legs on them anymore, which I was proven right on so many occasions. But when that aspect of their game is negated, they look absolutely unplayable, man. And Kroos, when he switches the ball, it just hits different. I'm telling you. The only other man that have made me feel that way was probably Xabi Alonso. His technique on switching play was exactly as great as Kroos, and having Kroos opens up so many avenues in whether it be transition, open play, whether it be recycling possession from a corner. Kroos is there to provide a solution, and yeah, man, I just look back on some of my harsh statements of Tony Cruz, where we have a bad result and him struggling to keep up with an opposition attacker. It really makes me think that like he could have done better. It's just me trying to pin a blame on someone. After a game, emotions run high, and you just lose a bit of perspective. But days like this, like what Jacob and Farooq mentioned, really drives home the narrative that, like you said, Jacob, Kroos really does have a lot of minutes, a lot of impressive displays left in him still. He still can do the job. If Modric can go till 37, 38, I think Kroos can go at least until 36. I'll give Modric the extra 2 years of leeway because of his athleticism, at least. That's the box kind of coming to an end. We'll end it with our big man of the moment, man of the season. I was thinking, he's playing with a shoulder injury. He wasn't really advised to use much of his left shoulder. That he would be ineffective, but that was my feeling for the first 5 minutes, where I looked at what he was doing and thought, yeah, he is a bit rusty. He is a bit off the pace. But then after that, I missed it. The high that you get when Jude is running at opposition defenses, when he is like this bull who wants to, completely, take the narrative of the game on his shoulders. It's brutally imposing on I feel for our opposition, man. Like, when they see this man not flinching, not wavering, not thinking what to do, head down, I'm gonna go through with this. If this works out, this works out. That's what Jude does. That's what I like about him. Farooq, starting of the season, like I always go back to, how our initial predictions were of Jude Bellingham. We didn't expect him to be this influential, and game in, game out, he is proving to us why he is, so highly touted and why he is rightfully our talisman, in my opinion, for this season. The way he took that shot with his left boot, man, I'm telling you, no average midfielder finishes those shots. Steven Gerrard, I can think of, finishes them. Frank Lampard, yes. Zidane to a certain extent. But yeah, I'm running out of words, especially in modern football. Like maybe De Bruyne, but he is a quintessential cam. He isn't exactly someone who can be deployed box to box. So maybe he's an anomaly. But Jude, his finishing always blows me away. Like it's for a reason. I just associate those kind of finishing with attackers.
Yeah, man. I mean, I will leave the Jude finishing to you, man, because still, I always, reiterate this. I'm not in that room. But one thing I will say is that, watching Jude, like, it's really, really, really so impressive. Like, it's, as you said, like, it's like literally, poetry in motion when he's moving, because for me, like, I really don't really care about the finishing. Jude can finish the season with 0 goals. I really don't care because he's not the person to score the goals. But the thing is that how he influences the match, the way he's able to win back the ball, run at the defenders, literally in tight spaces, exit those spaces. People talk about Zidane. Actually, for me, I feel like it's Kaká at AC Milan. Because I remember 2006, 2007, 8. Kaká was like, he was running, like he was gliding, not running, and like you could not take the ball off of him. And like with the lanky legs and the tall figure, like honestly, watching Jude is like poetry in motion.
But I would say I would go as far as to say like Kaká was the man. Man, I'll tell you, I never used to play football, but Kaká was like my idol. He was the guy that really made me feel interest. That piqued my interest in football. It wasn't Cristiano, wasn't Messi, wasn't Zidane. I wasn't watching football when Zidane played, but Kaká was the guy, man. I was so sad that things didn't pan out for him with us. But what puts Jude above Kaká is Jude's work rate. The way he ran back to track that right wing, I don't know, Jacob, if you can help me out. Like he was breaking down down their right. And he was free. There was nobody to cover him. Mendy was backing off. Jude makes a last-ditch tackle that's reminiscent of Ramos. Halfway line, he doesn't need to do it. He's a 100 million star boy, right? His job is to basically be an impetus moving forward, but he tracks back and does that. So that's super impressive for me.
I totally disagree with you, and I think you shared the rhetoric of the guy on the telecast as well. He was saying like, "Oh, Jude is all." I mean, Jude is basically 1920. He hasn't done shit in life because he was bought for 100 million.
No. I'm just talking about his overall game.
Exactly goes back to the point I'm making to you soon. Is that people actually see, oh, Jude is tracking back. But when we bought Jude, this was what we bought: the box-to-box midfielder that can win the ball back.
Oh yeah.
Progress it up top.
No, I understand, Farouk, but I'm just happy that he is super willing.
I get you. I mean, he's super willing. It's his fucking job, bro. Like you can say he's super willing to score goals.
There's so many players that gets headlines, that lets headlines get into their head, and they just lose that willingness. You have seen that countless times before, Farouk. Like you gotta give him some credit. Like I've seen that in so many young players. So for me, Farouk, Jude is an anomaly, in a lot of ways.
I'm not saying he's not an anomaly, but what I'm just saying is that, like, saying that he's a star boy who doesn't have to track back, I feel like that's. I mean, it's like saying, Pedri doesn't have to defend because he's Barcelona's star boy, or I mean, we're not talking about the Kylian Mbappe here. Like, I mean, people should calm their tits down and relax. Like, it's not like Jude has won the Ballon d'Or.
Jacob, I'm done. I'm gonna just switch off my camera and bow out.
he's trying to build something, honestly. And if there's anything to take for granted, it's his goal scoring, because I feel like what Jude is doing, at least in my opinion, now for the past 1 month, is actually why I feel like. This is why we paid 100 million for Jude. Not the goals he was scoring, the ability to win back possession when he wants, the ability to run through brick walls where there is no space that exists. As I said, poetry in motion. This is the reason why they paid for Jude, not because of the goals or whatever it is. No, and I mean you can see that. Like for example, like I mentioned in the past about how he plays for England and what he does and what he doesn't do. Today for the second goal and also for the third goal, it was very similar. If you guys actually saw like England against Italy, Harry Kane takes the ball and makes a move, and Jude literally runs to drag away all the defenders, opens the spot, and it's a goal. Sorry, it's for Marcus Rashford, not Harry Kane. It's Marcus Rashford, he cuts in, Jude runs, take away the defender, it's a goal. Similarly today as well. What's it called? Rodrigo takes the ball, Jude takes away the attention, Rodrigo scores a goal. The third goal comes, Jude comes, the attention is on Rodrigo, Rodrigo slips it to Jude, it's a goal. So these are the minor things, in my opinion, that matters a lot. Like, it's how you impact how your team plays overall. Not because like you're able to finish a 1-goal game when it's a scrappy match that no one wants to watch, but how you're able to influence the whole performance of your team as a whole. I think this is the reason why you build it. Not because I am able to score goals and do this and do that. No, not that. As a midfielder, how do you influence the game of your player, of your team? How influential are you? And today we saw that again, you know. So that's the thing for me. I think Jude, other than everything you mentioned about the goal and the Gerrards and the Lampards, I think Jude was phenomenal.
This is the thing, I feel sorry for whoever is going to marry Farouk, because they'll be having a pretty civil conversation breaking down about why they were fighting, and then Farouk agrees to, oh yeah, babe, this was the reason we were fighting, and then Farouk says something absolutely, out of order that, manages them to resume fighting again. That's kind of the guy Farouk is. So I just completely lose focus, lose perspective when I'm talking to the man. But yeah, man, Farouk, it's truly what some people miss. What I miss is down to the happiness that I feel, that I focus on what made Jude stand out, right? But what you said, when you deepen his the way how he can influence games from deeper now. He isn't exactly playing in and around the 10. Like, yes, he starts in the 10 nowadays, but he has a much more deeper starting position. And which, again, like you said, Farouk, which like what you and Mo has always been, banging on about, starting deeper would accentuate his strengths, will highlight his greatest positives, which is coming to the forefront, man. Jacob, any more adjectives left for Jude? Becomes the player with the most number of goals after 15 appearances for the club. He has surpassed fucking Cristiano Ronaldo. I just can't wrap my head around that. It's so hard to digest for me. I never thought a day like this would come, especially with Jude.
I mean, come on, man. These stats, just like what is that metric? 15 goals, 15 games. So
still, give him some fucking credit though.
Yeah. Of course,
you don't want to. Let's move on. Tino in the chat.
Wow, man,
Tino in the chat.
Wow.
Okay, go for it. I'm fucking pissed, but yeah, go for it, Jacob.
Yeah, man, if not for him, I'm sure we would actually stop watching La Liga this season, because we would have been 10, 15 points behind already. And apart from that, like we mentioned, just playing him deeper accentuates his strengths, but then the team loses out a lot. And like it or not, like he is our like at least half of our offense right now. So take him away, we take away a lot from the team, and even I feel like we should still play him in this leading role where we can set him up to score, as long as we don't have a real striker in the team.
Unlike Farouk, Jacob, I want to ask you this question, because this man, he doesn't give a fuck, whatever he does, right? But his finishing, Jacob, doesn't it surprise you? Is it just me? Is it just because I love this guy so much?
I feel like in our starting lineup, he's probably the second or third best finisher. Yeah, and I mean, I haven't seen him at this accurate at all in his Dortmund days. Of course, he had some really nice shots. He has some nice positioning, which led him to score a few goals. But then I feel like he's really taken.
His goals in Dortmund was much more easier to comprehend, at least for me. Right, exactly. His positioning, like you said, enables him to tuck them away pretty efficiently. But these kind of goals, man, I attribute them to wingers.
Yeah, this was a striker's finish. Attackers. This particular goal on this day, it was a striker's finish.
Yeah, so many goals this season has been strikers' finishes. Yeah, this man, I don't want to hear this man. This man should leave the fucking room.
You know what Jacob said? He said he's like the second or third best finisher in our squad. Who are the finishers in our squad? It's Rodrigo, Vinicius, and Joselu. These are the strikers we have. I mean, Vini is not the best finisher. Like, he will have like 1 in 4 chances. Rodrigo, okay, maybe he's the best finisher on the squad. But the point is, like, it's not like you're not saying he's the best finisher in the league. You're saying he's the best finisher in the 14 Real Madrid squad. That
He is one of the best finishers in the league. What is he? Top 2 goal scorers in La Liga? Top 3?
I mean, I'm not saying about. I think he's the highest goal scorer in the league, if I'm not mistaken.
Is he still? Because he missed so many games, right? So I'm not sure anymore.
I mean, he scored a lot. Like, and Lewandowski was out for a while. I think. So I think he's still a top scorer in the league.
Farouk, it's high time. But yeah, hopefully you wake up sometime in the semi-finals of the Champions League when this man bags a brace against fucking Bayern Munich away at the Allianz Arena, Hopefully then. Yeah. No, not then too. Yeah. I'm going to come down to Turkey, Farouk. I'm going to come down to Turkey, and then we're going to have a face-to-face situation. I don't give a fuck if I'm 5'7" and you're 6'3". I'm going to grab a stool, look you eye to eye, and clear this out. If that happens,
a stool might not be. We can buy you some heels.
I'm not 4 feet. Okay, relax. Right. I'm 5'8". I can hold my own on a stool. Right. Okay. So fucking relax.
So guys, I was looking at it, and Lewandowski is not even in the picture. So the second top scorer is Antoine Griezmann with 9 goals. Bellingham has 11. Mayoral is actually the third with 8 goals.
Mayoral for Getafe, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Greenwood scored a banger, by the way. I think yesterday or something. Oh my god, that finish was filthy. But yeah, Tino was in the chat. He was saying, "Okay, let's address the elephant in the room in like 10 seconds." Tino was mentioning, why is Joselu playing? Let's start with that. Why is Joselu playing, Tino? Because our dearth in attacking talent is pretty rife at this moment. There is not much we can do. Isn't it better to give Alvaro? Alvaro has been stinking up at the gaff, like for the past couple of months. He has been dealing with an injury as well. He hasn't really been hitting the heights that we were expecting him to hit. He was the guy we all thought would be the fichaje, from the fucking Castilla, but it hasn't panned out for him. I feel for the kid. He has so many attributes in him that's gonna make him a great player. But this season it isn't really going his way. He also mentioned probably will have the same impact, plus one is old and others young. Even if he fails there is a resale, there's a sale value, there's a market value. I don't think, man, Alvaro, he has to play himself into form with Castilla, and then we can think about which is why Gonzalo Garcia, not being exactly the mold of a classic striker, he isn't the tallest. He isn't exactly a poacher's poacher, but the reason why Gonzalo Garcia has been called up is because of his immense work rate, versatility. Alvaro, I think, is also pretty versatile, has played out wide as well, but Gonzalo Garcia adds a lot more at this moment in time than Alvaro. I don't watch Castilla week in, week out, but from very good sources that tells me what's going on in Castilla, Alvaro Rodriguez is a bit behind the curve, at least this season. But to the point, Jacob was, pretty pretty devastated that the second goal didn't really end up happening the way we expected it to. What must have been going through Joselu's mind, Jacob, if you can walk us through that play?
Fucking hell, man. Like, I honestly don't know even now. So there's only 2 possibilities. So Rodrigo squares it off. He's totally onside. Maybe Joselu doesn't realize it, and maybe he thinks it's offside, so he just lets it go. But even that does not make sense. Like, even if you're offside, you might as well tuck it in if it's going out anyways. That's just what a normal person would do. But I guess Joselu is not a normal person. Or the second possibility is that maybe he just doesn't see the goal that's right in front of it, and then he just lets it go, thinking it's heading into the goal anyways. I just can't make sense of it, man. Both explanations are like alien to me. I just think he had a brain fart at that moment. It's unexplainable.
Farouk, do you wanna chip in? Because I don't want to slate the guy. Joselu, not the day to slate him, really. But if you want to add something to that.
No, I think it kind of goes into the narrative that like this is Hosilo, like he's a player that what his limitations are. If you remember, Jacob, once upon a time that the second highest goal scorer in the league was Hosilo. Like, do you know what his position is now? I think he's 13th or 14th, in the list of goal scorers, and that's like maybe 1.5 months ago, maybe even 2 months ago when we discussed it, and he's been on 5 goals since then, and he hasn't been able to increase it. So this is what Hosilo is, and these are the limitations that he has, and in particular with that sequence of play, like I kind of felt he thought maybe offside, so and he felt like Rodrigo could have gotten to the ball faster. So instead of interceding with the play, or just let Rodrigo finish what he started and stuff like that. But again, it goes back to Jacob's point. Like any striker with 2 senses sticks that in the back of the net. Whatever happens, happens. Any striker sticks that in the back of the net. If it's offside, it's offside. If it's a goal, it's a goal. If I deny Rodrigo a chance, I deny him a chance. That's what any sane striker will do. It doesn't. I mean, we've seen this tons and tons of times. Even at Real Madrid, where Benzema is on the end of a Cristiano shot, or Cristiano's on the end of a Bale shot, or this is what strikers do. Like, you're basically a finisher.
You got to follow through, right, Farouk? Simple as.
Definitely. Whatever the consequences, you have to put it in the back of the net. But then again, as Jacob says, I'm not going to be harsh and say he's not a normal person, but
Jacob really said that. I just completely, that slipped my mind. But Jacob, bro. God, this guy. How do you deal with this man, Farouk? Bro. Some of the stuff he says, really, really, really unwarranted, uncalled for. But today is not the day. We won 3-0. His positioning, at least for me, gives us a lot of avenues that we can exploit. Hoselu, tonight it didn't really look good. Even in the subreddit, like I could see people losing their minds. I was a bit more calm about it, but people weren't happy at all, man. People weren't happy, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. Right. So I have a bit of a memory issue. You all know. I need to know how the second Rodrigo goal came about. Right. Was it an interplay between Jude and him? Because I remember the finish. I just can't remember the play. If you guys can help me out.
So Cadiz, all of them, they're on a counter-attack. I think 7 players behind the ball, and then they lose out. I feel like Carvajal or someone wins it back, or maybe Valverde. And then the ball is played out to the left wing, and then it's played to Rodrigo, and then Rodrigo carries it. I don't think Jude takes a touch, but I'm not very sure either.
But the finish is...
I think it was Fede who won it back, and I think Modric gave it to Rodrigo, and then Rodrigo just cut in from the wing. Even though, if I remember the sequence correctly, it was like that.
It was very similar to the first goal. That I remember. That the finish was pretty similar to the first goal. But again, very well taken. It just goes to show, how much confidence does to attackers. Attackers and keepers, they just need that confidence where they just get that self belief to put their thinking into action, man. Like Rodrigo, the first time when I actually saw him take shots, with such conviction, I used to always think that this man, he completely believes in himself. And for the last couple of months, like we discussed earlier, like we were missing that persona that really stands tall, that really stands up to situations where we need a savior. And Rodrigo really had his shooting boots on, and both finishes, man. Both finishes. Ledesma is not an average keeper. Is a very, very good keeper, pretty tall, has saved Cadiz on so many occasions. I would attribute, Ledesma to be one of the key components why Cadiz, such a small side, still, has managed to stay up over 3-4 seasons now. Cadiz has been a mainstay in the La Liga, top flight, for quite a few years, and Ledesma is surely one to credit for. And Rodrigo, again, finishing top notch. We have discussed Rodrigo in depth already. Tino, what was in the chat? He was saying Hoselu is not normal. He's a striker for the best team in the world, an extraordinary special shit. Do you know what? Again, you're siding with Jacob and we are piling on him. There'll be games where we would come to thank Hoselu. Trust me. There'll be games where we would need someone like Hoselu to be our only option to, the only difference probably between a draw and a win or a loss and a win. We would need Hoselu. I'm not gonna lie, and the reports suggest that he would stay past his loan. People are pretty impressed. He'll be resigning and whatnot, which I'm all on for. Because Hoselu was never supposed to be the number one choice. He is the backup. He's the guy who comes on and does a job, and I believe that at least in 2 out of 3 games he can do a job. That's all I ask of him. At least drag defenders out of position, which he does on the regular. If I didn't even see that, I wouldn't watch for Hoselu. But Hoselu, fortunately for him, has given some credit, in the bank this season. Not gonna lie.
Even in this game, I feel like he did drag a lot of defenders, kept them occupied, so Rodrigo was a bit more free.
Yeah, that's why countless occasions this season that we have seen. Yes, Vinny and Rodrigo works together in very specific games. Maybe in the Champions League where there's much more spaces against top tier opposition, where they're much more willing to send players forward and there are spaces to exploit. Yeah, they can do a job. But against much more conservative oppositions, we need Hoselu. We definitely need Hoselu's experience, man. Nobody can take away anything from his top flight experience. He is a seasoned veteran at this point. We have touched up on the attack. Right, let's move on to some of our defenders. Carvajal, we have sung his praises for quite a lot this season. I'm going to leave it out. Very steady performance. I'm pretty sure you guys have. Do you guys have anything to add? Carvajal, usual 7, standard 7.
Maybe a 6
Jacob
too. I feel like he
really?
did, because he over dribbled in multiple occasions. Yeah, he just had to he tried to get past the man. Maybe he was just thinking, man, this is Cadiz. I should be dribbling and scoring a goal against them. That's it. Because I haven't seen that too much from him this season. Either he passes back, he's always the safer option. He always takes
maybe it's a psychological aspect. Yeah, like you said, Cadiz.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Apart from that, he was perfect, man. Like, he was tracking back also today.
Yeah. And he was the sole outlet out wide because Fede was, solely tasked with protecting Cruz. So Danny had a bit much to do, but at the same time he didn't have much to do because the threat wasn't so great. Ferland Mendy. Farouk, where do you stand again? We have addressed this question so many times. Can we trust Mendy to be first choice?
Tough question, bro. Tough question, honestly.
This game doesn't give you any confidence, yeah? For me, this was a neutral performance. I didn't.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say to you. Again, I just go off the opinion that I just felt like there wasn't enough on display today to actually suggest that, Mendy might be the guy or might not be the guy, so because, again, it's Cadiz, before even we the game started, it's a team that has the least amount of shots, least amount of goals scored, although they did, I think they had 10 shots against us today or whatever it is. But I just feel like there wasn't enough, threat against Ferland Mendy for him to actually display that, okay, there is a possibility to, defend or not defend or stuff like that. So I feel like there wasn't enough scenarios to actually, see Ferland Mendy in full display. So because of that, is he the guy to go forward? I really don't think this game, changes anything, honestly. I just feel like it's just more of the same.
Mm-hmm. But again, my question is he above Fran in the back in order for left back?
Definitely. I mean, that's just the way it is. When you have a big game in town, I mean, yeah, Mendy is your guy.
100%. Nacho Fernandez, I'll stick with you, Farouk.
Okay. When I said Mendy is your guy, I just remember the reel we had. Give me Camavinga. I don't know if you guys remember the reel of the guy. he was asked between Fran and and Mendy, and he was like, Kamavinga was his option.
Very honest answer.
I mean, that's just it, man. That's just it. But yeah. Sorry, you were saying Nacho, right?
Nacho Fernandez.
Yeah, I mean, as usual, man, Nacho gives you just a solid 6 man, sometimes a 7. But I think Nacho again today was very stable. A captain leading on the pitch. He was just a symbol of calmness as well. So that's the thing. Like I think Nacho today was fair game in my opinion.
I'll come to you, Jacob, for Rudiger.
Yeah, man. I'll start with Ancelotti's quote. So he said, when he was asked about when we might actually rest Rudiger, so he said, some rest for Rudiger. Today, the doubt was between him and Alaba. I prefer to rest Alaba because Cadiz used long balls a lot and Rudiger could help us a lot more with that. So yeah, it's a standard Rudiger performance, man. He just bullied the strikers. He didn't let anyone past him. In the heading department, I feel like he did lose his mark a couple of times on those crosses. He was just ball watching, especially if you remember that point blank shot against Lunin in the second half. I feel like
he was caught in no man's land.
Yep, just ball watching. So we got off lucky. Maybe if that went in, we would have slated a bit more. But yeah, just going forward, I just hope he also gets some rest because we're not going to rest him against Napoli as well. We need him to contain Osimhen. So hopefully he gets some rest in the smaller games.
Hands down, our best defender this season. Yeah, it's something that I never saw coming. But yeah, credit to Rudiger, credit to his commitment to the cause. Farouk, to the youngsters, don't be too harsh, right? Right. I'll say that before we get into it.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, Garcia came on and he had a shot. If I'm not mistaken, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was it was a shot that actually showed that he might be a very confident young player. But yeah, other than that, I don't think there was any significant contribution from the players because they came on. I think Paz also came on, but Paz came on a bit too late, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, too late.
Yeah, so I do think it's you can't criticize them for too much, honestly. But yeah, I do. I think the thing is now is that like they have to play because we basically don't have the people. Whether we like it or not, we have to put them there. So I think there might be something there, and I think for Garcia especially because as Nova was mentioning in the chat as well earlier, he's an alternative to what Joselu offers you, and like it's not like you lose too much in that sense anyways eventually. So I think Gonzalo Garcia might be someone to look out for, especially given the lack of attackers that we have. But other than that, I think Gonzalo Garcia is the only one at least I can make a comment about.
For Jacob, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just like to add this about Gonzalo Garcia, right? He is not a Vinicius replacement. He's more of a Joselu replacement, like Farouk said, but a bit more mobile. So if people are expecting him to like dribble his way out of players and then take
he's very direct.
Yeah, he is very direct, but he just can't do that job. Get past play people when the box is crowded.
That's Nico Paz's job.
Yeah, that is totally Nico Paz's job. But then he is a replacement for Valverde, as I see it right now. So yeah, just lower your expectations and then hope he makes the chances. Just gets the best out of the chances that he gets. Yeah.
I'm so positive that Gonzalo Garcia is gonna score a goal very quickly, very, very quickly. I see that coming in the next month or so. If he's given at least 10 minutes every game, he's gonna build himself up to a position where he is gonna be a very decent threat off the bench. I have a lot of faith in Gonzalo Garcia. Mo, has already told us back in May that he is one to watch. I've seen enough of him even over the course of last year, where I think he, for someone who's only 6'1", his heading prowess is just so nice. I'm hoping there'll be situations where people would be confident enough to cross the ball to him because he can do a job with his head as well. Nico Paz, we all know how highly touted he is, and he's gonna get his due flowers in just due time, I guess. Youngsters getting minutes, it's a good sign. Gonzalo Garcia getting like 14-15 minutes very, very good. Like, I didn't expect even that in a game that we were leading 3-0. That's how bad our faith in Cantera is. But now, like Farouk said, there is no other option but to trust in them. Danny Ceballos, Jacob, I'm going to stay with you. Um, Coming back from an injury, a relapse of an injury, if I may, add. Um, do you think that he can, you know, like he did last year against Villarreal, enforcing a comeback? Do you think he can have some of that heroics this year as well with such a stacked midfield? It's a
Definitely,
daunting task.
definitely, but I totally think Ceballos has the talent to pull it off. He has the work rate. He's a tireless
Mm,
presser all throughout the game. The only question
mhm,
is, can he keep fit? Does his body allow him to do that? So if he can
mm,
actually manage to stay fit, I feel like he will have a really important role in the next 2 months, and
mm.
possibly even offer Cruz some rest because he's someone on in this midfield who can actually ping a few passes around.
I just hope it works out. I've been never the biggest fan. I've been pretty vocal about how I think he is very, very average for the hype that Zani Ceballos used to get. Like I was super thrilled that we bought him from Betis and whatnot. But yeah, I just hope he gets, like last year, he gets a run of games where he can showcase again what he's all about. Um, Tino was in the chat. He was asking, is Gonzalo a striker or a winger? Gonzalo Garcia is super versatile. He can play an inside forward, has also played outside, has played in the hole as an SS, not exactly a cam, but as a second striker. Um, he has enough in his tank to offer, absolute versatility, you know, in whatever position the team needs up front. And that's what makes him a very good asset, in my opinion. I just hope, he gets to showcase it. Carlo gives him enough minutes to, show it. That's the only thing. But yeah, I think that pretty much brings our Cadiz review to an end. Big game, not exactly big regarding how our group is standing against Napoli in a couple of days' time. Napoli really don't look like they're in any sort of form. Has been struggling, has had a new coach and whatnot. We should be able to do the job. We should be doing the job. Um, about a preview, I'm not sure yet. We are still talking to some people to arrange something, but the schedules are super tight. Um, we'll try to push a preview out, but if it doesn't happen, we'll be having our Napoli rep from the last preview. Mohamed Salah joining us from the Bernabeu, hopefully to talk to us before the game and also for the post match. So look out for it on our socials, on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you are. And yeah, big up every single one of you in the chat. Smash the like button if you haven't already. Do subscribe to the channel if you are new here. We are on the road to 2K. Also, big up our audio listeners as well. People who sent in feedback. Much love. Honestly, it's the best thing. I look forward to it so much that it really gives me a purpose to keep pushing all of us to do this, because I've mentioned so many a times that we are people who are juggling uni, work life, all of that, family life for some of us. So it's not easy. We are all from different parts of the world, and to do this, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. I'm not gonna lie. So show us some love. Show some love to the channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend. If some of your Madridista, homies, who are interested in pods, show us our pod. Recommend us. That's my humble request. Also, if you're regulars on audio platforms, especially Spotify, um, don't forget to rate the podcast. Rate it out of 5, whatever you want. Whatever you feel like. Even on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music as well. So yeah, it's very, very important that you rate us, people. If the more ratings we get, the more visibility we get, especially in Google searches and whatnot. But yeah, man, look out for content from the Bernabeu as well. Napoli home game, big match. Sid and his crew will be joining in from Madrid. Talking to people. We'll be putting forward these questions as well regarding Lunin, Kepa, and all of that. Yeah, man. Pretty impressive display from the boys. Super happy that we are back to winning ways despite a few injury hurdles, in the international break. Jacob and Farouk, any last thoughts to add?
Yeah, man.
Nah, man, nothing.
Yeah, just looking forward to the Napoli game.
Hopefully, the Modric knock is not that serious as well. We need him very, very badly. Also, do check out our partners on Instagram, Real Madrid Committee. They run a brilliant fan page. If you haven't checked them out already, do go and give them a follow. But yeah, people, until next time, Hala Madrid.
Hala Madrid.
Hala Madrid.